All right, we're back. We're back.
Hello. What are we talking about?
I don't know.
Are we going?
Yeah.
Oh. I have to preface, we're in the car, so if it sounds silly.
Might sound better. You'll just hear sounds like that. And
Yeah.
if we crash, you'll get to hear the whole wreck.
Awesome. And you'll get it, I don't know, on the freeway if it will sound loud. Hopefully the mics will help drown out the freeway noise. And it just started raining.
Only
And
the
if
best.
you need to know one thing about us, is that we always somehow drive in the worst conditions ever.
Yeah.
Oh
What?
I just looked over and his mic is clipped to his beard.
Yeah, you gotta get it good in close.
They're gonna be able to hear every breath you take.
Yeah. All right, let's get down to business, Shreya. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Hit me with it.
All right. So, a few days ago, I was reading on the X, or I might have saw like a TikTok thingamabobber. I don't have TikTok, but maybe an Instagram clip of someone talking about the wrestle, and they were talking about if Seth and Becky truly went to AEW, if like when their contracts would be up in like the 90 days and stuff, and if it would line up for them being able to come at Wembley, because that would be the perfect time for them to show up.
And I think we would know if they go off TV for 90 days that would come in.
Oh, 100%.
Both of them especially.
Yeah, which is fair. But what I was thinking is, in the article that I was reading, or that I listened to, they said that the perfect situation would be if Seth came out through the crowd and immediately challenged Moxley. Kind of like Moxley's original debut in AEW. He went through the crowd, came out, beat up Kenny, went from there. So I think that would be the perfect place for him. But my question for you, and I don't know necessarily who she would come out and challenge, because we don't know what the line of whatever is going to look like later on, because Mox will always be a star, and Seth can challenge him, and it'll be a big deal. But my big question for you is, who do you think they should debut first in the show? Should it be Becky or should it be Seth?
So you asked me this like 15 minutes ago, so I could have it in my little noggin.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about it.
No.
But it's been in my noggin for like 15 minutes. And I don't know. I keep going back and forth because I want to say, like, oh, bring Becky out because then people are going to know that Seth is coming and they're going to be so excited and lose their crap. But then I almost think if you bring Seth out first, you'll get a bigger pop.
Yeah. Well, there's two things. First off, this is all with the inclination that the insiders don't know what's going on, or whatever, which is fine. We're talking if it's pure speculation and the best setup. But the ultimate question is, in your opinion, is Seth a bigger star or is Becky?
That's what you have to ask yourself. That's what I've been asking myself.
And who's
going to get the bigger pop? Like, because you want to do who's going to get they're both going to get big pops.
Yeah.
But you want to do, like, kind of the bigger one first, I think, in my opinion, because then they're going to know the other one's coming, and the crowd's still going to go freaking crazy for them no matter what order they come out.
I agree.
But I don't know. I'm going to go with my gut, and I'm going to go with bring Becky first.
Really?
That was my initial thought, was bring Becky out first.
Okay.
But I really don't think you can go wrong. I really don't think there's a right or wrong answer, because no matter what, especially if we're talking Wembley, I don't remember if you already said that.
Yeah.
At Wembley, like if we are talking Wembley Stadium, no matter who you bring out first, the crowd is going to lose their minds, and us sitting at home are going to lose our minds.
Yeah, I definitely agree too. I don't know, I think the coolest thing would be if they can figure out how to put a female star in Blackpool and then
they come together.
They come out together.
Yeah,
that would be nuts.
That was my other thought that I had, like, if they could come out together somehow, because that would be unbelievably crazy if they both came at the same time. You would doubly lose your mind.
Yeah, it would be like Julia in House of Black, how she's her own person, or Rhea in Judgment Day. Like, they're just as equally a star in their group.
Yep.
And I guess I would have to dive into, like, would they come out, if they are coming out to face Blackpool, would they come out as a group? Like, is there a group that's feuding and they need one more person and a female, and then Becky and Seth come out and even the odds or whatever? That would be crazy too.
Yeah, then that's my question for you. Who's their group?
Man, I have no idea. I don't even know where to begin to build a group that you would add them to. And also, do you think that would be a deterrent for them to be in a group right off the bat rather than huge stars? And even a deterrent that they would be together rather than their own, like their one segment on the show rather than two?
If AEW could figure out how to appropriately do a couple, I think it could be okay. But I think putting them together would be enough. Don't put them in a group yet. Seth and Becky are people that do not need groups.
Well, and
they can have allies. They can have people that come out and help them if they need help. But they do not need to come out in a group.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing, too, is as far as my knowledge, and I've been watching wrestling my whole life, and been watching Seth and Jon Moxley and Becky's whole career, is Becky and Seth have never been together. And I don't know if I necessarily would put them together right off the bat.
Yeah. Recently, there's been, like, in their feuds in the last, like, let's say 6 months, I know there's been, like, talk about
there's always
husband,
talk,
or your
yeah.
wife, or your kid, but never together, never come save each other.
No. That's never, as far as I know, that's never been a thing.
This is what I'm saying when I mean if AEW can figure out couples. Because AEW does couples and they come out and they make out and they're gross and disgusting. They're like, haven't done that with Ruby and Cool Hands yet. And they haven't been able to make that cool. But I'm saying if you bring Seth and Becky in as a couple, they need to be badass.
Yeah.
They need to kick ass. They need to be feared. They need to be like, you don't mess with that couple. Not like a couple that comes out and makes out like, oh, if I mess with Becky, I'm also going to get Seth, or vice versa, and I got to be careful.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
I do think it would be cool to have them come out together for, like, the pop and just, like, how cool it would be.
Like, we're here together.
Yes, like, we are here. But I think keep them separate ultimately.
Yeah, that's what I think.
And then, like, if they really ever needed help, then they could be allies. But, like, I don't need to see them together. They don't need to come out together. They don't need to come out for each other's entrances or whatever. Like, they can handle themselves on their own.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And the other thing to really go into is Becky would be fine because her real name is Rebecca Quinn, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And she owns Becky. She can go by Becky. That's her real name in real life.
Yeah.
Seth, on the other hand, is completely different. Would he go by Colby, which is his real name, or would he be called something completely different? I don't know. And that's another thing to really think about. Because you weren't watching when Dean Ambrose was around, when Jon Moxley was Dean Ambrose. And I can say today, I truly think Jon Moxley is a bigger star than Dean Ambrose.
Yeah.
But people will argue that Adam Copefield will never be as big of a star as Edge was. And that's fair because Edge was a huge star in his prime. And Adam is like on the tail end of his career. He's still doing great things, but is he the huge star that he is? And will Seth be able to be as big a star not being called Seth Rollins?
Because, okay, let's go into the Adam Copeland Edge thing. Because if you're just listening to us talking in a normal podcast, you don't know the Edge switched companies. He's going by a different name, and you just hear me talk about Adam Copeland.
Yeah.
No mention of Edge. Or if you are listening to something else where they're wanting to draw in viewers, right? Like,
Yeah.
and people don't see a picture of him to be like, holy shit, Edge is in AEW. They just hear Adam Copeland will be there.
Yeah.
And they're like, who the heck is that? Yeah, I agree. It's not as much of a draw.
I mean, he did get the Rated R Superstar,
Yeah.
which is a huge thing, and I'll give him that. But it's still not the same. And truthfully, as we're filming this at the tail end of March, going into April, we necessarily don't know how Mercedes switching from Sasha is going to be. I think she's going to be a big enough star like Jon Moxley was. The switch from Dean to Jon was clean, bigger star. Hopefully, she can continue to be pushed, because the only reason Jon Moxley is a huge star is because he's pushed. He's consistently in good feuds. He never loses. He's a star. And if they can keep that on Mercedes, that would be great. Adam Cole, Phil Edge, that's been a weird roller coaster because Christian was such a huge star that you couldn't immediately come in and make him lose to Adam.
Yeah.
So they kind of did the whole Cope Oakland thing that he was facing younger stars, and now he gets to go back to that being the champion now. So it'll be interesting how they're going to go about it. And I don't know if AEW is in a spot that you can put all your eggs in one basket like a Jon Moxley. I don't know if you can bring Seth in and immediately have him just win, push him to the top, immediately give him the world title, because we've gotten huge stars recently, and that hasn't been the case. We got Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson, we got Jay White and Okada and Will Ospreay, and all of those people are potentially can be world champions, but they didn't immediately get pushed into the title picture. And I think that's what they're going to do with Mercedes too. It does not look like she's immediately going to become the women's world champion. She might become the TBS champion, but I guess we'll see how that develops.
Okay, you're 5 things ahead, and I haven't got to talk about any.
Well, that's your time to come and talk to them. I was just
You need to
layering the pancakes.
Pause, say a thought, pause,
Oh,
so I
okay.
can pause, because now we're going to go back 5 steps.
Well, that's great.
So, back to the first thing. I think that Seth is young enough that he could rebrand as another name and potentially, like a Jon Moxley situation, be just as big with his new name.
I agree.
Because he is young enough, unlike Adam Copeland, who's on the tail end of his career. Seth could have 10 years in him if he wanted.
He's in his prime right now.
Yeah. And so he can rebrand and he can go from there and build that way. I don't see an issue in him having to rebrand from Seth Rollins to whatever he would choose.
Yeah.
And same thing with Becky with her name. I don't know if she could use Lynch.
No, she couldn't, but she'd just go by Becky.
Yeah, just flat Becky or whatever.
Yeah, like Miro, just one word, or whoever.
So she could just go by that or whatever she wanted. And then, going to the title picture, Seth, and you could disagree with me, but like to me, Seth is more like Jon Moxley, where if you put a belt on him, he is going to do a magnificent job, and that belt is going to be in good hands, and he's going to take it to the next level.
I
but
agree.
If you don't put a belt on him, he is just fine.
Yeah.
He doesn't need a belt
I think he's
to make him his career. Now, maybe with a name change, it could be a good idea to put a belt on him to get people more familiar with that name change. That could be a good idea, but he doesn't need to come in and immediately go for a title. He could just go after, like you're saying, Jon Moxley, even if Jon doesn't have a title, or there's plenty of other people that he could just flat go after it with no belt, and people are probably, depending how well they do it, going to be more invested in that match than the world title match, because there's things that happen like that all the time. I'm more excited for this match than the title match.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I feel the same way about Becky.
Yeah, Becky, the women's division is completely different than the men's.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot more depth in the men's, and they have been proven to have a lot more time being given to them throughout the shows. I know, it's definitely interesting, and they're two completely different people that have different avenues that they've gone about through their career, but at the end of the day, they're huge stars. And that's the other thing that I was thinking about, is Seth coming in, he's a huge marquee name, that he is coming from the number one wrestling company. He's a huge star. He's arguably their biggest star right now, because he's a world champion.
Yeah.
Like, he's on the same level as Roman. So, him coming in and immediately being given a title, I think, is a big thing. Because people coming from New Japan is different than WWE.
Yeah.
Because the American audience knows WWE. They don't necessarily know New Japan. So they're not necessarily going to always know Will Ospreay or Okada or Jay White, rather than they'll know Seth Rollins.
Yeah. This isn't about like a New Japan or Will Ospreay, but you're right, touching on that, because we as AEW fans, me specifically, you might know of them because, you know, you keep up on other things wrestling.
Yeah.
I don't. Like, I know and love Will Ospreay because he worked for AEW, or he worked for New Japan, which had a working relationship with AEW.
Yeah.
That brought him in, brought Okada in, brought in, you know, whoever, Jay. And so that's why we love them, and they come in, we're so excited because of that, because they've already been on AEW television, and now we're excited that they're going to be a more permanent fixture. But you're right, talking about like WWE, where the American audience already knows them, already loves them. I
definitely don't think that's true. I think the other big thing to think about too, and you might not necessarily know this, it might not be the best person to ask, but I truly don't think there is very much more that Seth can do in WWE.
No.
I think he's faced all the big stars. He's done the big things. He's main evented WrestleMania. He's won the world title. He's won the Royal Rumble. He's run Money in the Bank. He's done all of it. Becky's done all of it. I think this is the perfect time to really show that they are the biggest and the best wrestlers in the world, would be to go to AEW and face these people that they necessarily haven't been able to face or haven't faced in decades. Because I think it's huge marquee matches to have Seth go to AEW. You get to face Jon Moxley. That's never happened. He's faced Dean Ambrose, but not Jon Moxley. And then to dive into all of the countless other people, the Will Ospreays, the Swerves, the Kenny Omegas,
like the people that
like
are in the
the
same
huge people.
The people that are also in their prime and in the same generation that he is in, that he doesn't get a face.
And I think the biggest, like, people say Moxley would be a huge feud. They say that Swerve would be a huge feud. They say that Will Ospreay would be a huge feud. Kenny Omega would be a huge feud. My number one feud I want to see Seth feud with right off the bat might not be, I think they should go with Mox right off the bat, but the feud that I would love to see the most would be him and MJF. To have them in a talking feud in the promos would be so great, because Max can give it and give it and give it, but a lot of the times he does not face people that can give it back to him. That's why one of his best feuds was Samoa Joe, was CM Punk, that could give it back to him, and that you could hear people have a dialogue going back and forth.
Jay White was a good one, too.
Yeah, that's just someone that has good mic skills. Is next level with it, too. And I think Will Ospreay will be great, too. We have not got to see that necessarily yet, which is fine, and we'll get to see it eventually. But I really think Seth could. There's 5 to 10 names right off the bat that are huge marquee names that would get people to buy pay-per-views and get people to watch. And I don't necessarily think there is that in WWE right now.
Yeah, because same thing, like, if you're going to stay on the MJF subject, I would just love to see them, because they're both just, like, so flamboyant in who they are and like, their characters, and, like, I am assuming Seth would stay more along those lines, even with a new name. Like,
Yeah.
they'll be dressing flamboyantly and things like that. But I just would love to see it, and their mic skills. And that's another thing to touch on, Seth. Like, Seth and Becky, where WWE, they do get so much practice on a mic, and they do get help on a mic, where they're going to bring in so much, like, value just with their mic skills.
Oh, for sure.
Just with the mic skills alone, not even their talent, nothing else. Just how they are in a mic, and hopefully they can help push others to be more on their level. But, like, MJF versus Seth in a pay-per-view, you don't need a belt. People are going to buy it just for that match.
You don't need a belt for the top 5 things.
No.
And that's the thing I'll ask you a little bit later, but I wanted to talk about first. I guess we could talk about that right now, is who would you want to see them feud with immediately? And we can start with Seth since we're already talking about it. I'll say the 5 that I just went through, which is Max, Kenny, Swerve, Will Ospreay, and Jon Moxley. Those are all huge marquee matches, huge matches that could happen with a belt, without a belt, doesn't matter. They are huge things that will get people to tune in and watch.
Yep.
And I think those would sell it on their own.
If you wanted to throw in a 6th guy, I think you would also throw in Bryan Danielson.
Yeah. Well, you could go in for ever.
Yeah,
like,
go down the whole roster.
Would you agree with those 5 though, off the bat? Another one that I don't think that necessarily gets enough time right now is Malachi and House of Black. I think that would be a huge thing because he has history with Buddy, because Buddy was one of his minions at one time, and they could go back to that. That'd be fantastic.
There's endless options. And like you were saying earlier, like, he faced Dean Ambrose, but not Jon Moxley.
Yeah.
There's so many people like that.
Oh, for sure.
You know, he has faced that, so would be in the company, but now their character's different, or their name, or whatever is different about them, and it would just be something different because of who they are now, but they have the history.
And those are all huge marquee names that are right off the bat huge feuds, huge things that will make money. But you dive into the young group and the young core too, like him coming in and being able to face Ricky and Sammy and Darby.
And Daniel Garcia.
All these huge young stars that are on the progression to be huge stars. And I think those are huge things that would want you to come in and wrestle too. And that's, do you want to talk about Becky first, or do you want me to keep going on with what I was going to talk about?
You just keep going on, then we'll switch to Becky.
Okay. And that's another thing that, like, people are saying, like, the money, I think the money is there. This was proven with Mercedes. They're going to get paid huge money. Tony's willing to take a loss on making money so that he can have these huge stars come in. He looks at it as an investment, which is great. I think this is the best investment you could take. You give both of them whatever money they want. But truthfully, right now, I think WWE is in a spot that they are trying to be an entertainment business. They're trying to do more things other than just wrestling. They're trying to do press conferences and sell media and sell all X, Y, and Z. When AEW, I feel like it's just focusing on wrestling.
Yeah.
And then promos and promotion is added on to their brand, but their full focus is the wrestling in their name, when WWE's whole focus is the entertainment in their name.
Yeah.
And I think those are two different things. And when I look at Seth and Becky, I look at them as being wrestling people. I don't necessarily see Seth and Becky going to Hollywood and being these big John Cena, The Rocks, and Batistas, which they could do whatever they want to, but I think truthfully, they're huge wrestlers more than they are outside.
And, like, how awesome that they are in this career, and how long has AEW been around, like 5 years?
Yeah, 5 years.
5 years ago, that there was not really another option.
That could pay you more than WWE.
Yeah, or sit, you know, like, along the lines of them, and you could go to and still be as big, and, like, get the like we said at the very beginning talking, like, are they running out of things to do in WWE? That's the question
Yep.
they need to ask themselves when they're thinking if they want to switch or not. Like, what else can I do here? And if there's nothing new for me to do, am I okay doing it all over again? The same thing again? Or do I want to go to another company where there's a whole new roster to feud? Even if you've already feuded with them, you haven't feuded with them in years, and they're in a different company and different characters and names or whatever else. And, things you can do, like, you want to, I don't know how hardcore they are, but like you can come to AEW and do like the legit hardcore stuff if you want
they
to.
can bleed.
Yeah, like you can literally, like, I just feel like your options are, I shouldn't say you have more options in AEW, but when you've already done everything in one company, you could go to another company and start all over again and have a whole other however many years they've been in wrestling run again.
Yeah, I definitely think that's true. All right. Do you want to talk about the negative next, or do you want to talk about
Let's go to Becky and then we'll talk about the negative.
Okay. All right. So I think the same 5 women that Becky could go are the huge stars that you get talked about all the time. Is the Brits, the Mercedes now. I don't even know. Like
Tony, Saraya.
Yeah, Tony, Saraya, Willow is a huge star now. Chris Statlander, Julia Hart, all these different women that are necessarily not at the same level as these men are, but are still on the same show and given time and can be these huge stars. And I feel like a Becky would bring them to the next level. And hopefully we can see over the next few months that these women get put to the next level with Mercedes being there.
That's what I was going to say, because like a lot of these women, if you take like, I'm just going to say these 3. I know there's other women that have been in WWE, but Saraya, Mercedes, and then if you put Becky in there, there's the women that haven't been on that same scale or level as them, and I really hope that they could bring the women's division, like you just were saying, to the next level and make it
be an equal.
Yeah, be an equal, and people want to be invested in it and want to see what's going on and give it more TV time. And I'm hoping if you get like Mercedes and you have, if they do get Becky, like you get these women that are also in there advocating for the other women.
And I think that's a huge thing that Becky can bring in. Like, Seth brings in this huge marqueeness and this huge, like, dream match. I think what Becky can bring in, yeah, there's dream matches, but the biggest thing that she can bring in is bring AEW's women division to that next level. That, like, AEW's men division is at the same level, if not above WWE. Like, the matches they're putting on, the star power, it's there. Women's matches get downgraded a lot of the time, don't get viewed as equal, and I feel like the more stars that you can bring in and put them to, that's so much bigger, because that is a kind of a negative, I guess you could look at with AEW, is AEW is bringing in these huge stars from New Japan and stuff like that not necessarily are as equal of bringing in people from Stardom or other women's wrestling companies that are at the same level as these men that are coming in from New Japan. So I think Becky can bring them to that next level that needs to be.
I agree. We need to do another podcast so we can more formally talk about Mercedes Moné in her own light.
Yeah.
But I think Becky could bring in a lot too.
Yeah. All right, we're going to pause for a second. We'll be right back. All right, we're back.
I thought when I said that we were recording.
No, you got to say it again.
We're in a restaurant, so we're talking quieter. So our pitch has changed, and there is background music, but we tested it out and we couldn't hear it. So hopefully you can't hear it, but it's really loud.
And if it sucks, I'm sorry. I guess you're just left with whatever we were saying last, and you can just cut off then. So we were talking about Becky. I think the biggest thing is she can just bring the division to the next level.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, should we talk about the negatives now, or do you have anything else to say about Becky?
No, I think my last thing to say about Becky is I just think it'd be really huge for the women's division.
Oh,
And I want to go into this more when we talk about Mercedes, but I think that she really has the ability to take it to the next level if she's given the right tools to do it.
yeah, I definitely agree.
And that falls on Tony Khan.
You gotta go closer to the mic.
That falls on Tony Khan to do that.
Yeah. Do you want to clip it on this?
No, I don't.
All right. Okay, so the negatives. I guess we can go into two things. We can go into the negative of AEW and the negative of Becky and Seth coming. Which one would you want to talk about first?
Whatever one.
Okay, let's talk about the negative AEW. Do you think that Tony can legitimately book both of them the right way? Do you think he has it in him?
That's my fear. We're gonna find out with Okada, Ospreay, and Mercedes if he can book them correctly.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I don't know. I think he has it in him, but the ultimate thing is, like, is there enough time in all the shows?
He has it in him, and he has people that he has surrounded himself with that also have the ability to do it. It's just if he's going to let them help.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I definitely think that there's people that will tell him about it.
Yeah.
I guess the other thing, too, that I was going to talk about with AEW, do you think AEW needs them? Like, do you think it is the biggest thing that can happen? I don't know.
I don't think they necessarily, in quotes, need them. I think they could benefit from them, but I don't think the future and the potential that AEW has rides on them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and that's what I was going to talk about with Seth and Becky.
Yeah, I don't think AEW is needed to succeed with them, but I think they could help it bring it to, I don't know if another level is the right thing to say, but like they can help take it further if Tony wants to take it further. Like
Yeah.
To bring them in, he has to be willing to want to take it further because they truly are huge stars. In WWE right now, they are so big and they literally are stars. So he has to be able and willing to go at that similar level.
That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yep, we're good. Thank you so much. We just got our food.
Are we going to pause or are we going to do a mukbang?
Let's just finish really quick. So that's the other thing I was going to say about Seth and Becky. Do you think they need AEW more than AEW needs them? Because in my opinion, this will prove that they can do more than just what's in WWE, which they both have proven by going through the independents and on NXT to the main roster.
I don't think they need AEW because if they don't go to AEW, they'll be fine. They can stay big stars in WWE and do whatever. I don't think they need each other. I think equally AEW and them could benefit each other.
Yeah, I definitely agree. All right, we're going to pause and think about more stuff to say about it and eat our food.
Eat some good barbecue food. That's really
stay
expensive.
tuned. Yeah, $852 barbecue food. Thank you very much.
Are we going?
All right, we're back.
We're back. We have full bellies.
Just spent $832 on lunch. I'm sure we'll be hungry in about 1 hour and 42 minutes.
Leftovers.
Still doesn't mean you're not going to be hungry in an hour. What was that?
The other headphone or the other microphone.
That's fine as long as they didn't fall out.
I think they're fine. I don't know where they went. You'll have to look for them later. Oh, they're down there. They're fine.
Okay, that's good. Okay, is there anywhere else you want to go in this little town?
No. We drove to our favorite barbecue place.
Yeah, to a town that's probably like half an hour away.
I think from our house to the restaurant, it was like half an hour.
Yeah. Definitely worth the drive.
if you need a restaurant that hits every single time, this is it.
Yeah.
It will never let you down, but it is expensive, so you can't go there all the time.
Yeah, we used to go and get the same stuff, and it was like $30, $35. And then they got rid of the meals, and they made everything a la carte. And I think they raised the price at that time, too. Or they might have raised the price a little bit later. But for us to get what we want now is probably like almost double the price. It's like $60.
It used to be.
So
I
today,
think we paid, what, $50, but you got something different than you normally get.
yeah, I didn't get a full thing of like half a pound of the normal meat that I get.
But it was $50, and it used to be like $30.
Yeah.
It's
Still
bummer.
definitely worth $50.
Oh, yeah.
For a lunch, that's crazy to think about.
You
Spend
know,
$50, but that is definitely worth it.
In these times, like, prices are raising and quality is going down. Their quality has not been affected.
No, they're
No.
spot on all the time.
Okay. We were talking about, were we just very beginning talking about the negatives of,
Yeah, I think we pretty much finished up on it. The negatives of Seth and Becky coming to AEW and kind of talking about, I think AEW needs them necessarily more than they need AEW, but I would kind of disagree. I think they're huge stars, but I think it's more in the concept of if they really want to prove themselves and challenge more people, that would be great. I guess the other thing that we could really go into, unless you have anything else to talk about.
no, I just think this. I don't think they need each other really at all. I think they both could continue on doing what they're doing. Like, I'm saying both by like AW and then Seth and Becky as a unit.
Yeah.
Both parties could continue going how they're doing, and AEW could operate as normal and, bring whoever else in they want, and everyone would be fine. I don't think it would go one where, like, they don't need each other, but I think they could both benefit from each other.
Yeah, I think the other negative thing to talk about is more on the AEW side, is that right now in WWE, Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch both get an ample amount of time in their segments. They are consistently getting time on Raw, and they will appear on SmackDown for X, Y, and Z, and they get time. Will they get that amount of time with AEW?
Does anyone in AEW now get the amount of time that they're getting?
No.
In general. Exactly.
I think the last person that really consistently got time was like MJF. Remember how long his segments were? They would take up like a third of the show.
I don't know if I did a third of the show, but usually multiple people would come out.
Yeah.
And, it was like a whole shebang. And no one was complaining about it because everyone loved him and what was going on.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if they came, it would be different because the shows are operated differently and they're run differently, and it would be different for them. It would be a different change of pace. It would be different, like, I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say. You can maybe help me.
It's just a different show.
No, listen.
Oh, okay.
It's like the superstar aspect of it. Like, how, that aspect of, like, everything in WWE is grand and huge and a big deal.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it's not like that in AEW, but it's not.
No.
Like, in the same way, things are a big deal and things can be grand, but they're a big deal and grand in different ways. Like, AEW and WWE have different definitions of those, I think.
Yeah, and that's a whole podcast we could talk about, is the state of AEW and, like, what they're trying to be, because a lot of people will say, like, they're still trying to, like, reach into the basket of being independent and being, like, a small company, like how ROH was and how, like, their original roots are, but at the same time, they do, like, huge things like they get giant LED boards, or they do X, Y, and Z to make them look like a legitimate thing. This guy not going to get over. Yeah, we're back in the car if you couldn't tell. But I don't know. They're kind of like in between. They're not necessarily like trying like to be this huge company, but at the same time they're not trying to be a small company. They're kind of like in their own spot, and that's great.
I think they're finding out, like, they've been they've been around long enough now, and they are getting a good roster. I think they're trying to figure out exactly who they are and what they want to be and what they want to be known as. And I think the rebranding that just happened a couple of weeks ago is a big telltale sign of that they're definitely trying to figure out. And behind the scenes, I think they're bringing in more people and people that maybe are better equipped for those kinds of things, and so that's helping their quote rebranding to help them figure out who they want to be. I gotta fix these freaking styrofoam boxes. Can you hold this?
They're bugging me too, but I knew that they were bugging her 10 times more than me. So now she's gonna try to attempt to crawl in the back seat to get them separated like they're two toddlers fighting.
But yeah, get them separated, but I can't exactly climb back there.
That's fine. Just take one of them away.
I know. I'm fixing this so it's not dumping.
Okay.
Okay.
So
we're good.
All right. Is there anything else that you really want to talk about with Seth and Becky? Ultimately, I would love to see them come. I completely understand if they don't want to or if that doesn't happen. End of the day, it is what it is. I truly would love it for the concept of me as a fan. And truthfully, I think it would be for the betterment of wrestling.
Careful when you go around it.
Yeah, I see it. So, I don't know.
I think I agree with you, and I would love to see them in AEW, but when they're I think you guys know this about me by now, I have paid attention to WWE unless I really like what's going on, and their segments are always ones I've always paid attention to.
Yeah.
And when we're fast forwarding through a pay-per-view, we always stop for them and pay attention to them. I just want them to do whatever is best for their family.
Oh yeah. I definitely think the scheduling would work out better too. There's so many pros to go, but the negatives I don't think are truthfully there. I think the negative is they won't be as big as stars, whatever. They're gonna get paid just as much, if not more, less of a schedule, more talent to work with, more creativity to kind of do what they want to do.
Yeah.
There's just so much more, and I think it would benefit their careers in the long run. So
I think in the long run it would, but I also think if they choose to stay at WWE, it's not gonna affect their career too much. They're still gonna have fulfilling careers.
Yeah, I definitely agree. All right, you want to go off on a little tangent?
Oh gosh, what?
Okay, let's say this never happens and they never jump ship.
Okay.
But somehow in the future, WWE and AEW come to an agreement to work together.
Okay.
To truly do a Forbidden Door. Who would you want them to work with at that show from AEW?
Oh,
Becky and Seth. And the big thing you have to think about is, yeah, you can put them with Kenny, you can put them with X, Y, and Z, but that means that other people on the roster can't face them too. So you got to put them with
one match.
A big picture. You got to look at the big picture of who it is. Right off the bat, who do you think you would want to go with?
I don't know. You're better at this than I am.
I would say right off the bat, Seth's perfect opponent is Will Ospreay.
Yeah.
I just think they would match perfectly. I think they've had their differences and they've argued on social media before just because they're both that way. I sent you the thing about Seth saying a few years ago, we have our own Ricochet, we don't need you. And then that came back up when Will was a free agent, so that was definitely interesting. But truthfully, I think that would be great. That's what I would want to see.
Yeah, that would be a good one. Or him and MJF, that would be good too.
That would be definitely good too.
Yeah.
Another one that is someone that we haven't talked about with Seth at all, that I think would be a huge feud that is just as big as the top 5 that we talked about, is your least favorite wrestler.
Who?
Hangman Adam Page.
Oh, that would be a good one too.
That would be a great feud.
The curly hair feud.
A curly-haired feud.
The loser has to cut their locks.
That's never going to happen.
I know, but I'm just saying that. That would be a good one. When we go back in, I think if we did a top 10 of who we would want Seth to wrestle, he would be in there too.
Let's do a top 10 really quick. Let's go back in time.
Okay, I
want
would add.
you to go first so that you don't steal
Well,
mine.
I'm gonna do your original 5.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna add. I would say Bryan Danielson,
Okay.
Hangman.
Okay.
Maybe Ricky Starks.
Okay.
I think for like match purposes, not like promo purposes, but like Konosuke Takeshita could be a good match.
That'd be a great match, yeah.
Yeah, I think that could be a really good match. And then Okada. Did we say Okada in the 5?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I'm going to add Okada.
Okay.
I'm going to say Okada.
Okay, that's fair. I'm going to do some more oddballish people that I think would be great. I would love to see Darby Allin feud with him. I feel like that would be a really good feud. Hangman would be a great one.
I want to stop on the Darby really quick.
Okay.
I think that would be good, and I think because Darby is just like crazy, and he's also like kind of a high flyer. I would love to see Seth in that kind of element.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Another one that I think would be a really good thing for the guy's career is, is Hobbs.
Okay, when I was
Hobbs
thinking
would be
Konosuke, Hobbs
fantastic.
was also in my head. I was debating if I should say Konosuke or if I should say Hobbs.
And then another one that I think is kind of an underglassed person right now, someone that I hope gets released to show his true potential as a single star, is Big Bill. Yeah. I would love to see Big Bill in a legitimate feud by himself, just doing the things that he would love to do. Like, I think that would be great. And then my last one, no one's going to be surprised, it's like you saying Hangman. But I absolutely would love to see him feud with Dalton Castle.
Yeah.
Who can out-flamboyant themselves.
Oh, I remembered someone else. I forgot them when it came back to me. Roosh would be a cool one, too.
Ooh, that would be great. Someone I forgot about. I thought about Ethan, too.
Yeah.
Or Scorpio. That would be, both of those would be fantastic. There's so many options.
Yeah, I think what we're trying to say is the options are literally endless. And, like, Seth is such a well-rounded wrestler in all aspects that he could really make anything good, I think.
Yeah.
And it's usually, like, the people that, like, aren't as experienced or whatever, like, he could help them a lot and, like, make that feud really good for them.
Alright, let's spitfire real quick, Sharita. Alright, think of your top 10 list, or just whoever.
Okay.
I'm going to go through some quick ones. And I want you to tell me who you want to be face and who you want to be heel in the feud.
Okay.
Let's start with Hangman and Seth. Do you want Hangman to be the bad, or do you want Seth to be the bad?
I kind of think I want to see Hangman be the bad.
Really? Okay.
I'm going to flip it because I do love a good Hangman, but the little Hangman heel turn we've been getting recently, I would love to see them flip because I think like Seth is a really good heel and Hangman is a really good baby face, but I would love to see them in different elements.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I would want a heel Hangman.
Yeah.
All right, Moxley. You want badass Moxley, or do you want badass Moxley that's defending AEW from Seth?
Oh, you said, okay, my initial thought when you said Mox was heel Mox, and then you say that, and then I want that.
You want the Mox that was salty feuding with CM Punk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I want that Mox, because that Mox can still be dirty, and he can still wrestle dirty, and he can do all the same shit, but you don't fuck with that man and his company. That is his.
And it could be like, I came here, I developed this company, I did something that you wouldn't do. I had the option to leave, you stayed, and I made this, and now you're coming into my home.
Yeah, you're coming into what I've already built because it's nice and luxurious for you.
Yup.
You didn't want to put in the time and the effort to do it, so people built it for you, and now you want to skate on in and coast through.
Steal the thing.
I want that. Oh my god. That would be so good.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I want him to come in at Wembley, and I want him to think it's his show. Be like, this is, blah, 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 when everyone comes in and they say, I'm home now. And Mox is like, no.
Just the promo that Mox gave after he won the belt from CM Punk, that he legit said, that didn't go how you thought it was going to go.
Yep.
Cry me a fucking river.
Yep.
Oh my god, that would be so great.
So good. I was still newer into watching with you when that whole thing was going on.
Yeah.
And that's like, I don't say this really ever, I don't think I have. I really do love Mox, and that is when I fell in love with him.
He's defending, and that was the same when Hangman was defending it to Punk. Yeah, there's so much about that. Okay, what about Kenny Omega? Heel Kenny? Heel snotty, I'm part of the elite Kenny. Or Kenny as, who the fuck are you? Do you think that you're the best wrestler in the world when you've never seen me? You've never stepped in the ring with Kenneth.
I want that, Kenny, and I want a heel Seth.
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah.
That'd be so fucking good.
Yep.
What about badass Swerve? That Swerve is the nasty-ass guy he is.
Oh, I want heel Swerve and good Kenny. Or good...
Or do you want Swerve that I'm a prick, but this is my company now. This is my house. And you might think you're great, but I am the next generation of wrestling. I am the black athlete that is going to make black wrestling relevant for this generation.
Okay, but the thing about Swerve is that he is a really good heel while doing that at the same time.
Oh, for sure.
I want heel Swerve doing that because heel Swerve does do that.
Yeah.
He's a heel and this is still his house.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay, here's another one that can truly go either way, is Bryan Danielson. Do you want spicy Bryan that is, I'm the best technical wrestler, how dare you try to even come at me? Or do you want Bryan Danielson that's like, I'm just a dad and I'm just trying to wrestle my last year and you are in here trying to pretend that I'm irrelevant?
Spicy Bryan.
Spicy Bryan?
I love me a good spicy Bryan.
Ooh. Alright. I could go on for days. Is there any more that you're just like, ooh, let's fucking go?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. You covered a lot of them. Like the good ones that have... You keep Will as a baby face? Will Ospreay?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
MJF, that's a good one.
Yeah, MJF is a great one too, but that's another one that's just like, is he truly ever a face? Like, we've got prick MJF that claims that, like, I am the best, but...
We could talk about MJF for half an hour all on his own, but I really want to know when he comes back, like, where he's going to land. I think he's going to be salty MJF. Like,
yeah.
He's just going to be salty because he was kind of, like, had a little bit of a character turn and was, like, doing his thing and whatever, and he was the people's scumbag, and, like, that was his way of being a baby face while also still being himself. I'm just so curious what he's going to do.
Yeah.
I think you let him kind of go like that. Sometimes I think wrestling is really good when you're not really sure who is who. Like, they both can flip-flop so easy in a promo. When they're both just
vigilantes.
Yes. If an MJF and a Seth promo,
it's like
Seth, I would have them both be like vigilantes.
Yeah, it's like Seth right now with Drew.
Yes.
Like going to WrestleMania, that Seth is like, I'm not a good guy, but I fucking hate Roman, and I fucking hate you, Drew, and I hate CM Punk.
Yep.
But I'm also the best wrestler in the world because I'm the world champion, and how dare you think any other way?
Yep.
I don't know. I guess the ultimate thing that you have to think about is, how do you want Seth to come in as? Do you want him to be a heel, or do you want him to be a face? Do you want him to come in and give the sob story that CM Punk and Bryan Danielson did, that, oh, I'm just here to face the best young wrestlers in the world?
No.
Or do you want him to come in kind of like a Will Ospreay, that Will wasn't a heel, but he came in and he said, I am the best wrestler in the world, and I'm here to prove it to you.
Yes, that's
no
what I
one
want.
in here can lace my boots,
Yep.
can even spit on my shoes. I am the next tier.
That's what he needs to do, instead of like the other guys that came in and gave the sob story, like, I just want to face the best wrestlers and blah blah.
Yeah.
Like, he is in his prime. He's not an older wrestler, that's towards the end of his career. He is in his prime. He needs to come in and say, I am the best, and whoever, and then, because if he kind of comes in and he goes that route, then if it's Moxley or whoever it is, can come in and say, you just can't walk in here and think that you're top of the food chain.
Yeah.
You just can't come into this like, you have to start from the bottom.
It kind of gives me chills to think about this, but the promo I would love is for him to be interviewed by Renee, the very first one, and him to be like, I was over at your guys' house, and Mox said, when are you ever going to face real competition? You face all those guys hundreds of times. When are you ever going to face Kenny? When are you ever going to face Jay White? When are you ever going to face Will Ospreay? And Mox to just say, I don't know if you could beat any of them. And Seth to come in and say, I am here to prove that I'm better than all of them.
That would be so good. Do you see how that car show?
Rogers?
Yeah, read above it. Don't say it out loud.
Yeah, they're from Rogers.
Do you see above it?
Yeah.
Sorry. I saw a car that was about where I was raised.
The next car next to him is from the Army.
From the Army? No, that would be so good.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be so good. Yeah, I don't know. There's so many different things that you can go about that's just, like, so exciting that, like, it's just a different aspect. Like, we got Chris Jericho to come over and to be, like, this huge star that's there, but we also got Chris Jericho at the end of his career. We can get Chris Jericho in his prime. Like, Seth is a good comparison to Chris Jericho in his prime.
Yes.
Like, and that's the other thing that I want to say right out the bat. I don't want Seth and Becky in 15 years in AEW.
Oh no, if they're gonna come, I want them now.
You either come now or you stay over there forever.
Yeah.
Don't come over at the end of your career.
Because you want to finish it out, or...
Yeah, that's bullshit. Like,
come
no,
in
thank
your
you.
Prime.
Come
now.
prove yourself to all of these huge
and also,
wrestlers.
It would be like, to those wrestlers, and like prove that you can be a big star, and you don't need to be in WWE to be a big star. I think that was a lot of precedents for younger talent. Like, you can, you can come to this company, and you can be a big star here.
Yep. And the biggest thing to think about, too, is, like, Jay White, Okada, Will, Mercedes, all those people chose AEW over WWE.
And they all could have gone to WWE.
Has to be a huge telltale sign that Seth and Becky could say themselves again. And I don't want to undermine Becky, too, because she's just as big, if not a bigger star than Seth.
Yo, yeah.
But I don't know if I necessarily have room to really talk about, like, who I would want her to feud with right off the bat. Because there is so many people I'd love to see her with. I'd love to see her do a feud with Sheeta or Nyla or Mercedes or Britt. You could go on forever about all of them. But I don't think there is necessarily, like, the holy shit, they're going to face each other on a Dynamite, on a free television night, that you get that same aspect from Seth.
Yeah.
I don't know, that's my two opinions. Do we want to go here?
Oh, we can. You can run in.
Are they closed? Okay. So, I don't know. There's just so much more to grasp by this than anything. It just makes me so excited to, like, think about. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Now that we talked about it, it makes me way more excited than I was in the beginning about it. And part of me really might be a little bit sad if it didn't happen.
Oh, yeah.
But I understand, like, you got to do what's best for you, and if that's what's best for you and your family, then
You do
all the
what you
power
gotta
to you.
do.
Yeah, you do what's best for your family.
At the end of the day, if this ever gets back to Seth and Becky, we're huge fans. And you're going to be a star no matter where you go. If you both stop wrestling right now and you just continue to write books like Becky just did, you're going to sell those books. You're going to be great parents. You're going to do great things. But at the end of the day, I want you guys to be somewhere that you can truly show your true star power and face the best people in the world. I look at the current state of WWE. You face everyone you could. Sure, there's people in NXT that you could face. You could face them, but is there longevity? Is there depth in the roster? In my opinion, not
And
necessarily.
if you want to touch on that, like, you would face people in NXT, but you're facing them at the beginning of their career and
Not
in the
in
prime
their
of your
prime.
career. In
Yeah,
the prime of your career, the beginning of their career. So one day it could be, they will say, I face blah, 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 blah. But, like, don't you want to face people that are also in the prime of their career?
exactly.
And, like, have legitimate, quote, competition? Something to think about if I were them. But ultimately, they're smart people. They'll make the best choice for them. And us as fans just need to support them, whatever they do.
Yep.
Which we will.
Yeah, I'm excited for the future.
Do we know when their contracts are up?
Sometime this year. No one really knows.
I guess we'll find out.
Yep. I
We'll
guess we will.
report back when something happens.
Yep. We'll see you later.
Bye.